Hello and welcome to this week's On the Road with MTDCNC podcast. This is the show that comes out every Friday evening at 6 p.m. where we talk about what we've been up to in the days that have just elapsed and what we're going to be doing in the week ahead. Although next week, most of us are actually on holiday. So I've got to tell you now, there isn't going to be an On the Road next Friday, unfortunately.
Where are we going on holiday, Paul?
You're not going anywhere, or you're not coming with me, certainly. As you've just heard, today I'm joined by Colin Griffiths and also Giovanni Albanese. Welcome to the show. Guys, how are you doing?
Very well, thanks, Paul. Very well.
Yeah, you have a good week, Gio?
Yeah, good week, busy week planning and organising for the weeks ahead, really, yeah.
And I bet you're looking forward to the sunshine next week. At last, the sun is going to come out. I looked at my phone for the first time in what must be months.
Is that why you never called people back?
Where I've seen that the sun is going to be coming out. It's glorious.
I'll talk about that tomorrow.
And it's going to be really good. I can't wait for the next week. How are you, Colin? You all right?
Well, I was doing well until I found out that I'm not going on holiday next week. I thought I got an invite.
You don't get holidays in your contract. You should know that.
Brutal.
You should know that by now. So coming up in this week's show, now we visited no fewer than 8 precision engineers this week, of which we'll discuss the highlights. We've spoken and interviewed no less than 25 individuals up and down the country. We've seen over 250,000 people engage with our platforms. But most importantly, and above all most interesting, it was my birthday this week, which we will talk about. But on a serious note, we do discuss visits to 2G tooling, desk tech engineering, CIS tools, driven engineering, DoGuard and PSL data track.
Where were we yesterday, Paul?
We were down in, we also talk about ProSpeed, we were down in Ramsgate.
We were. What a lovely day out that was. Didn't see any sea or seagulls.
We didn't, literally, train straight down there. But I couldn't believe how quick it took. I mean, to get from where we are here in Northampton down to Ramsgate, it was literally about 2 hours, 15 minutes.
Recommend it, absolutely. And the trains, normally, rush hour trains, what they like normally.
When we got to London St Pancras, you wouldn't believe yesterday morning, it was about 8 o'clock. In years gone by, I'd get to St Pancras and it would be heaving. But literally, I can't believe how quiet it still is. And I do feel sorry for all the traders that, you know, there is just no trade. It's just unbelievable. And even on the train still at the moment, there's no catering. So you have to go prepared. But
how was that? No food on the train, Paul?
I know, but you just think to yourself, you know, what has changed?
Because I had to actually go into London town and it wasn't heaving, but there's quite a few people trotting around, a lot without masks, including my good self, but we won't mention that.
The sun was out. You were outside. You didn't need to wear one. And on a serious note, the most important thing in the news this week is Gio and I have been invited to Herco's Golf Day. We can't wait, which is on July the 2nd. I've also been invited to Stars Golf Day as well, which is on July the 14th. So it's looking like a summer of golf.
What handicaps have you two got?
Well, mine's quite high, but the last time Gio and myself went on the Herco Golf Day was in fact it must have been 2 years ago we were invited. So thanks to the guys from Herco for inviting us again. But I remember I'd never played golf with Gio, and he actually, you can imagine, he comes dressed with all the, you know,
plus fours. Although they look full length trousers on Gio.
Yeah, he's got all the gear and no idea. That's probably the best way to describe it. And I thought, I mean, I've never really played golf. I do enjoy it if the sun's out, and hopefully it will be in July. But when I do play, I'm really not very good at all. But I was actually better than Gio.
Hold on a minute. That's Gio. Are you any good at golf? Seriously.
I won a prize that day, the booby prize. I think for hitting the most trees, or I can't remember.
That was me. I got the bit of bark because I got this bit of bark because basically I won 2 things because I got closest to the pin.
What?
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I got closest to the pin.
Not in 10 shots. That doesn't count.
I got closest to the pin on this par 3. So I won, I think it was a couple of £100 to spend on golf stuff. So it was a really good prize. But then I also won this piece of bark because basically off the tee, I hit this huge oak tree, and there was like 3 or 4 oak trees like quite close together. And the ball literally, we were all watching, the ball bounced it was like a pinball machine. It was, and anyway, so I got some bark. So we got invited to the golf day. And as I say, I've got Stars Golf Day as well. So I'm looking forward to that.
I think I've just had an email come through saying they've actually cancelled, they've actually rescinded your invite. Whatever that means.
Now, I just picked up a couple of facts on golf, actually.
God, here we go.
Do you know where it was invented?
It was in England. in
St Andrews.
It was, in fact,
Scotland, then?
in Scotland. And do you know what year it was invented?
Yes, I do actually. 1793.
No, it's 1457.
No.
All those years ago, yeah.
No,
And
be
professional
quiet.
golfer Tiger Woods has had some interesting escapades in the news, but one fact for sure, he is an amazing golfer. Well, I'm reading off a script here, you can see. But he took an interesting golf from when he was 6 months old, and he got his first hole in one at 8 years of age.
No.
8 years of age, a hole in one.
I've been playing for a long time. I've never had a hole in one.
Yeah.
Although I'm not very good, so better than you two, by the sound of it. Can we talk engineering?
We won't find out
normally
because
golf.
you're not joining us, fortunately, on those golf days. The invitation has only extended to Gio and myself at this stage. Anyway,
Wow,
so
brilliant.
thank you very much for Herco and Star. Looking forward to that. Couple of quick shout-outs before we start with where they've been. Enzo from R&G Precision wanted to say hi. Keith from RK Engineering. Terry from ONS Engineering. Chris from 2G Tooling, where Lindsay was at this week. Also want to say a big thanks to Howard Rothwell from MSC. A special message from him last week, following on this show this time last week. Also, I had a message from Paul Richards, who wanted a shout out on the show, who you know very well. Yes. He was wishing me a happy birthday, and he said, "Paul, you're still my favourite presenter." So Paul, if you're listening, thank you very much for the message.
To accept that.
So it was a busy week, guys. It was a busy week. We started on Monday this week at the Engineering Technology Group, or I did with Joe. We've got a live event which is worth tuning into on June the 30th, and it's all based or geared around a Quasar machining centre and Bloom's metrology equipment or inspection equipment. And the whole idea is to walk people through the journey of the different areas of using Bloom probing. So from setting the tool right the way through to measuring the parts. Then a new product that they use for measuring or identifying or checking the surface finish of a part. And we're going to do all this in like a closed loop environment. Now, the biggest thing about inspection is you tend to find, and Dave Mould was talking to us about this, that he reckons still about 70% of users of Bloom products or other products, they tend to still, well, when I say closed loop, they still intervene in the process when they don't need to, because all of this can be fed back to the machine. The data can be fed back to the machine. Then the machine's offsets can be altered automatically. So you can you do not have to get involved in the probing process. And this is what this event's going to be about.
Are you going to be machining live as well?
Yeah, so we're going to machine a part. We're going to basically check a tool. We're then going to machine a part. We're then going to measure the part. We're then going to remachine the part, because although the Quasar machine wouldn't machine a component inaccurately, we're gonna make out it does. Then we're gonna remachine the part. Then we're gonna check the surface finish of the part, and all of these things we're then gonna make alterations automatically. RA, yeah, you're a lion. We're gonna make alterations automatically, and then produce a finished component. Whereas normally what would happen is an operator would go in and he'd want to do little bits with his hands himself, but you don't need to, do you?
No, I think that's a really good point. I think that if you can monitor your tool wear and then automatically adjust your tool compensation, so you kind of then, because you'll have a finish cutter and a roughing cutter usually if you're profiling, or dependent on the application. Your roughing cutter will probably wear more quickly than your finishing cutter, but ultimately both cutters will wear with time, and as they wear, the part will grow. So if the part is growing, then it can check the part, and then it can adjust the tool comp accordingly, so it'll bring the part into mid tolerance, which is.
And I suppose what we're going to be highlighting is the fact that you don't need as an engineer or a machinist to check it.
Yeah.
It can all happen in this closed loop environment. So that's going to be happening on June the 30th, streamed via YouTube, Facebook and LinkedIn. We'll be promoting it heavily beforehand. So it's the next live event. And I would like to say at this stage as well, live events really are something else at the moment. The one we did commissioned at both Citizen and Fanuc got tens of thousands of views. I mean, I know looking at the Fanuc one was over 20,000 watches, racked up thousands of hours of watch time. So it's a really terrific way to get your messages to market. I'm going to move on to Tuesday.
Well, hold on. We did some stuff in the studio on Monday with Lindsay all about MTD Network Finance as well. Gosh, it was all over it. She was fantastic.
Yeah.
Great day's work.
It was
To watch
good.
this
Yeah.
space.
Yeah, so that was good. On Tuesday we had Mark was at Driven Engineering. That's quite an interesting story, isn't it? What can you tell us, Colin?
Not a lot, mate. I wasn't there. Mark was there. No, I'm joking. Yes, he went to see Ray Harris at Driven Engineering. He is a master of motorsport. He loves his car racing and things like that. He really does. But he's set up in a few years ago, and he bought a couple of Hermleys, as you do. First one was, I need to get this right, a C400, then a C250. So loves those machines, absolutely does. But as is sort of par for the course now, staffing shortages, etc. He couldn't get the staff, as we know. Are there any trained engineers out there? Probably not, or not many, and they're really a premium. So he's had to invest in another machine. What did he choose? He has chosen an Erowa Compact 80 because it gives him that automation, that flexibility, which is absolutely perfect for him. So he was down there with Ian from REM Systems. So great day out, finding all about that. And he's also been joined by Mark Turner. Did you know?
I believe Mark has just joined the company, hasn't he?
He has, yes.
Yeah,
so
very good experience. Congratulations, Mark, on your new post.
can we call him an acquisition? Is that the right word for a...
Did they have to buy him?
I suppose, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Well, you don't know. He might be doing it voluntarily.
I doubt it. But no, Mark's great asset to the company. Definitely knows his stuff, and having those Hermleys and the Erowa 80 now is absolutely brilliant.
A couple of words on the Erowa systems. I see a lot of them. In fact, I saw one at Dugard on Wednesday. I saw one at the Engineering Technology Group, which was interfaced to one of their Quasar machines on Monday. There is a lot of them around. I like the compact nature of them. They're very small. The pallets stack on top of each other, so you can get. I don't know what the quantity of pallets that you have, but it doesn't. It's dozens,
the
isn't it?
configuration can be changed. So, say for example, your shelf system it's very modular. So, if your parts are bigger or smaller, if your parts were smaller, you can have more kind of stations. If your parts are bigger or larger, then you have less. And
stations.
In
the name, it can hold billets up to 80 kilos, I think. Is that correct?
Yeah, it would sound about
sure
right. But so if they were taller parts, you'd basically then
miss a shelf. Exactly that. So it's very flexible.
The point being with these is this is all about the unmanned run, isn't it? It's all about this lights out manufacturing, which we were in fact. I know we'll talk about Pro Speed in a little while, but we were with Ben yesterday, and he is just embarking on this journey of thinking whether he should recruit people in order to run his machine shop, or whether he should go down the automation route. So this is a real balance at the moment that people are wrestling with, and I know that Erowa is a great solution if you choose the automation option. You also on Tuesday, Colin, had was it Jeff from PSL Data Track?
Jeff from PSL Data Track. I'll tell you what, I'm going to ask you, how many engineers do you think run their machine shops and do quoting and etc. using Excel spreadsheets or similar?
What, as a percentage?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's getting less and
100.
less. It's getting less and I would say 20%.
Really, you think that low?
I reckon more. I'd say about 60-70%.
Wow. I don't know the answer, to be honest with you guys. I was just throwing it out there because PSL Data Track is production control software, and Jeff went through 6-7 technical corners. We didn't go through each individual, page and things like that, because that's not going to add any value. Just a high level of a number of different modules, such as a quotation. I can do a quote in 2 or 3 minutes. It's as simple as that.
So, walk me through. Give me an example of this, because I do hear a lot about PSL Data Track, and I do hear great stories about it. And in fact, and I think it's because of the terrific work that you're doing with Jeff that he is. And I hate to say this, I think that they're getting a really good footprint in this country. And I go in a lot of companies and they say, "Yeah, I use PSL Data Track for this."
Yeah.
So just give us a very quick example, if you can, as to how it would work.
Right. So before, you've got an Excel spreadsheet and you're putting in your materials, your machine, what your cycle time is, what you think is your hourly rates and things like that, and basically everything you would look
to spit out a cost.
But it's and it's a bit of an eye opener, because you're looking at not just the machining cost, but the actual cost of the machine, the cost of your premises. You need to consider that when you've got to make profit, and there's 3 elements of cost. So the fixed cost, the variable cost, and the actual machining costs. And it's all in the system. It sounds quite complex, but it's not. It's all done. It's all really simple. You put it in once and it's pretty much there. And then if I want to do a one-off, bang, print it off, 2 or 3 minutes done. If I want to do that same project, a 50 off, bang, just change that to 50. It's as simple as that. But it doesn't just times it by 50. It takes account of economies of scale. So yes, you're going to be machining continuously and things like that. It's a great system.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Sorry.
And it helps people win business because, spending hours doing this quote, RFQ comes in, bang, quote back to you in sort of 5-10 minutes, and every company is individual, so you'll have a nice quote with your logo. Well, you can basically, it's off the shelf, but you can have it designed specifically for your company, so nice logo, everything like that.
And does it go bang?
Does it go bang?
Yeah, it's a bang, 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 bang.
Can we move on swiftly?
No, I would say you need to watch some of these things that Colin
All of them.
and Jeff are doing, because it is definitely
26 modules. You could buy one module, you can buy all of them. Calibration, you can service your machines, your invoicing, everything in a machine shop. It really the scheduler is brilliant.
And is there an answer to the question you asked us about? But what would Jeff say the percentage?
I don't know.
of
Actually, I'm going to throw that out there and see. I will ask Jeff and find.
Well, maybe
out.
let's ask the audience if are you using
reckon?
Excel spreadsheets to calculate and quote
Fag
parts?
packets, envelopes. I mean, some people still are. Yeah, I've got it all up here in my head. Yeah,
But how does it calculate? Say if a component come in, a new component that you'd never machined before, how does that?
Oh, you've got to put in your own variables.
Oh, right. So you've got right. So there's parts where you
Okay, so I look at that part and I go, yes, I can machine that in an hour. Right, bang, you pop that in the system.
Okay.
I can machine it in 30 minutes. But also, it might be that you get some software, some CAD/CAM software, which changes the way you're machining. So you bring your cycle time down, so you can go back and just amend it, and it's done.
Brilliant.
Simple as that. It's brilliant, and it's all intuitive, which means you can follow through simply for those who.
Could I use it?
Could I use it? Is probably the bigger question.
Gio, you can barely use a laptop. Not even a spreadsheet. You can barely turn a laptop on. Also on Tuesday, Joe was at CIS this week as well with ZCCT tooling. What was he doing there, Gio?
I think they were doing some cutting trials with ZCC on a Grob and on a Doosan. They were cutting some EN24T, and they were using some indexable high feed cutters.
Just
and then they were doing some
that EN24T quite tricky, EN24 quite tricky, but 24T is
EN24 is soft.
Right,
EN24T is quite tough.
It's mega hard, so it's like Paul and Colin equivalent. On the
similar,
T.
I suppose. I don't
He
know
said that one in the rehearsal.
I don't know who's T and who.
We'll find out. I'll tell you what, we'll have an arm wrestle off camera, shall we?
That was all about strategy, though, isn't it? It's about strategy in machining as well.
It's cutting strategy, but also the cutting tools and how material removal rates ultimately, and kind of reduce cost per part. Having the right strategy, the right cutting tools, on the right machine tools. I mean, we've done projects with ZCC before at Interco, and they seem to have some fantastic solutions for the harder materials. So I mean, when you're cutting softer materials, you can kind of, it's not as critical to have the right solution, if that makes sense. Your machine tool, as long as your machine tool is relatively rigid and you've got decent cutting tools, you're not going to be a million miles away. But when you start cutting these exotic materials, it's imperative that you use the right strategies, the right cutting tools.
And where would these materials be used, Gio, as applications do you see? I mean, of course, Les from Interco sells these exotic and special alloys. Where do they get used?
Aerospace industry, oil and gas. All of the industries, medical, power generation. I mean, each industry, I would assume, would have a need for a certain type of material, whether that be because it needs to be lighter, whether it be because it's a component that could wear. The strengths and of the materials and the qualities of the materials are all dependent on what application they're being used in. But the cutting of these materials now, and the kind of knowledge that we've got in cutting them is great to see, really. And I think that MTD are really highlighting the ways in which we can cut them more efficiently.
But this is comparing ball nose and barrel tool, so you can see that.
They were comparing surface finish with a barrel tool and a ball nose cutter. The surface finish was pretty comparable, reasonably the same. However, the depth of cut, the passover was obviously significantly more using a barrel cutter, hence you're reducing the cycle time drastically.
What were they doing on the other one? Because that was on a Doosan, wasn't it, I think?
So on the Doosan, they were also doing some other cutting trials on the Doosan. I can't remember the material.
Solid carbide.
That was it. It was
it
was a solid carbide, wasn't it? And they were cutting it dry.
It was 17-4, is that correct?
The material
contains 17% chromium and 4% nickel.
And they
you know
cut it
how
dry.
I know that? Because Joe told me. Sorry,
Glad you read your notes.
Yeah.
No, but those videos will be coming to our channel very soon. Other visits this week.
I think those. I mean, all our videos are valuable. Just seeing the swarf line and the difference, those different.
I think it's imperative. I think that these videos are so educational because you know the one thing that all engineers are doing are cutting materials, and if you've got the wrong strategy, the wrong cutting tools, you're not using your machine tool to its full capability. So it's absolutely imperative.
There is one downside of doing those, though, because I know Ian and Chris hate having to go into the machining envelope with their cameras. It's just so dangerous for the poor
guys. It's lucky they've done it dry this time. Usually we can't really. You don't get to see the cutting because you've obviously got to always have coolant on there. So the fact that they've done it dry should be a really good video.
Good stuff. Coming to the channel in the next week or two. Other visits this week. 2G Tooling. We've been here before. Lindsay and Chloe were there on Wednesday this week. Now they've just purchased an Ibarmia machine. Sold by Dugard.
I can say I've not heard of it. I've heard of Dugard before, but not Ibarmia. Is it pronounced?
Yeah, that's right. Okay. I've seen them installed in a company called Halifax Rack and Screw, and they're up in fact, they're right opposite. They're right opposite Cromar, up in. Can't even remember
way up north,
sort of Huddersfield area. And they got 3 of these machines, and they've got machines that are kind of 10-meter bed lengths, travelling column machines. The Ibarmia is a machine that's built in Spain. We've been invited to the factory. In fact, we were invited to the factory about 18 months ago before the COVID situation happened. But as soon as the borders open again and we can travel, we will be going back to we will be going to the factory, courtesy of Dugard have invited us over.
Don't be put off by the lack of ability to travel, if that makes sense, because the guys have actually gave them a virtual tour around the factory, and that's part of what the fact that this is a bespoke machine, not just a standard box. That's part of what sold that machine to them. So they're still doing the tools and things like that, and adding that real value. Yeah, no, that's always good to see, because people are obviously engaging and using digital media in order to promote their products. Now, the machine itself, the Ibarmia machine, is a travelling column machine. There's plenty of options with these machines. You know, 2G Tooling is a tool maker. We've been there before, haven't we? Yeah. You see some of the metal removal this guy's trying to do, some of these big press tools that he's making. You can see how he needs a machine that has got a much bigger working envelope, because it means he can take on bigger tools, but he can also do something which this machine is capable of, the pendulum machining, which means he can put a partition on the machine and he can have a part set one side while the other, or be setting one side while the other side is machining. So essentially you've come in like why is it called pendulum machining?
I'm not sure is the answer to that, but I know it's quite a familiar method of manufacture for a machine tool company. Plenty of companies do them. They're a bit like a pallet machine. You can basically really keep that spindle in cut, which is key. Now, so the Ibarmia product, great product, as I say, that built in Spain in the Basque country. One of the interesting things about 2G Tooling as well is the fact that he uses the microlock system for his work holding. And I know this is something quite close to your heart, Gio, because working with microlock, one of the points we're always trying to push is the flexibility of the system, and the fact that it is good for tool makers for holding larger parts, its versatility. Often people say, oh no, microlock's just for long running batch jobs where you can stack lots of components on one base, which you can, but also being a tool maker, you can maneuver the clamps and the locators to be able to hold those big bolsters and press tools. And he was generating some brilliant clamping forces before, wasn't he, using this system? And I know he's got one of these going on the Ibarmia too.
Yeah, I think that there's not many systems out in the marketplace such as microlock that offer that kind of flexibility. And I think that the reason being is that they've got a maximum capacity or holding capacity. With the microlock, your capacity effectively is the machine tool bed, because of how the system works. You've got fixed jaws that can be moved wherever you need them to be moved, and then the moving jaws. And I mean, we've visited Microlock's manufacturing facility, and they're actually reproducing Microlock with Microlock. You've got the horizontal where you've kind of got it onto you've got a massive horizontal base plate, and they're holding the biggest base plate just with 2 fixed stops and 2 moving jaws. So you can imagine, and the weight, obviously with gravity, there's a lot of weight there. It's holding it very securely. So you can, it obviously identifies or illustrates, should I say, the clamping force that you get from Microlock. But it's not just the clamping force. It's like you mentioned, Paul. It's that versatility. Not only can you, one day you might have a very large part where you need to fully utilise the bed of your machine tool, but then another day you might win a batch for 1,000 off, and you've got lots of little parts that you could present then 50, 60 parts to the spindle all at once. So it gives it
a couple of things, if I may. So that's, I mean, that you put 60 parts on it, it's almost like automation, really. So you just load it, because we were out at we saw Martin at Monard, and he absolutely raves about his Microlock and the simplicity of use. It's easy to change it around, and he absolutely loves it. But I've not seen, I mean, normally you've probably seen the systems maybe 1 metre by half a metre, but this one I'm assuming is quite big, is it?
You can go as bit large as you want, Colin.
Okay.
Yeah,
but
really,
also you can buy them in sections almost.
Yeah,
can't you? So you could buy them in
yeah.
Okay. So you could buy a plate. I've seen a plate on a 2 metre plate
bigger than your dinner plate.
on an XYZ. Right, I'm talking about that covers the whole table. But this guy was doing everything from huge tools right the way down to small parts, and he was just able to go from one to the other very, very quickly. So there will be some great videos coming out. I mean, the machine was still being installed at 2G Tooling as well on Wednesday, which was one of the reasons we wanted to go, because we wanted to see what goes into.
Why did you buy that machine, Paul? What was the main purpose? Because obviously it's quite a new machine to the UK market. You know, what was the main?
I think this is half the problem, Gio. I think actually this is a new machine it's not a new machine to the UK market. It's an under-promoted machine to the UK market. If you look at the Ibarmia website, the company was founded in like 1963, I think it was. They'll be selling hundreds of these machines around the world every year. They are a real challenger in this marketplace, but unfortunately in the UK they haven't had good representation. But now they've got Dugard with them, and I've got to say I'm going to touch briefly on Dugard as a company in a minute, because I was there on Wednesday while Lindsay and Chloe were at 2G Tooling. Dugard have really come on leaps and bounds with the portfolio of products they can offer now.
How long have they had this agency?
This agency, probably about just less than a year.
Oh, okay.
So it's not been very long. Before it was represented by somebody in up north, I believe, but you wouldn't associate them with being a machine tool provider in a big way. But Dugard's now with their Kitamura, with their Ibarmia, with the Hanwha machines. They've got a real suite of...
The Kitamura, people love that as well.
I mean, I was there on Wednesday. The Kitamura, I was looking at this med centre again, and I know Lindsay was there a few weeks ago, and she did a review on it. A really small footprint 5-axis machine, like a 20,000 RPM spindle. Wow. I think it might be 60 tools in the carousel, but the machine literally is, I know we're filming this, it is that big. It's about 1.5 meters in width, and it's about 2 meters in depth. It's so agile, so fast, 60 meters a minute rapid.
5-axis.
5-axis. It's called a med centre. I don't think it should be called a med centre, if I'm honest, because that pigeonholes it into the medical industry, and it's more than that. Are you going to tell
Eric that, though?
Well, no. I mean, Eric and the guys would agree that, because they've had so much interest in this machine. In fact, when I was there was customers looking at the machine. They've had customers there pretty much every day looking at this machine.
But can you do big, tough materials, though?
Oh, tough material. The geometric accuracy of a Kitamura is something else. I mean, these machines are all box guideway. They're the fastest box guideway machines in the world that run up to 60 meters a minute on the rapids. You'd normally have to go for a linear machine in order to get that sort of speed, but they are terrifically quick. Double ball screws. Sorry,
sorry, Paul. I was just going to say, you know what? The fact that it has been associated with the medical industry, some of the medical parts are hard materials, very complex. So it actually, when you think about it like that, it would also do parts for the aerospace industry, automotive industry, any industry. So I think that although, I do see the put smaller parts, maybe it's smaller parts, but its capabilities, you know, anything within that envelope, it can pretty much make.
But how many machine shops do you go into and the parts are, let's say, bigger than, and I'll hold up an MTD magazine for an example. Which
I'd say less than 10%.
Very
exactly.
rarely.
So you know, this machine is very suitable, and they're carrying them in stock, and they can get them quickly from Germany. So they're going to, I mean, they are going to do brilliant with that, and that covers off really my points on Dugard on Wednesday. It's just great to see them now. Having such a good portfolio of machines, the Schmeck machines, large turning centres that were there, and as I say, that med centre, and there was a Erowa system that they were just about to put on it, so that you've got this small 5-axis machine with a small pallet system, so the overnight run, absolutely perfect.
Got a good team there as well now, Paul. The team's changed a little bit, and they've got a real good, strong team.
David Rawson, is it David Rawson?
Yeah, he's
joined the company.
Nice guy.
I was with Colin
before.
You got Mark Hansen. Yeah, I was with Colin Thompson and Eric on Wednesday, and they've worked hard to get a good bunch of guys, a great set of products. So you know, good times ahead for Dugard. Now we also on Thursday. Let's talk about Thursday now, because this was a day where yesterday we went to Ramsgate. We travelled down there. A gentleman, Ben Wesley from Pro Speed.
Ben and Matt. They set the company up, Ben and his brother Matt. Okay. A very interesting story. Has anybody ever played? It might not be interesting, but I'm going to tell you anyway. So, have you ever played Spot the Ball, where you got a picture of a footballer taking a shot or a goal and putting a cross on it?
Yeah.
Do you think that's a con? I'm not asking Paul because he knows the answer. Do people ever win?
Yes.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
Okay. Well, his brother Matt actually won an RS6, I think, an Audi RS6.
Serious?
So like an 80 grand motor plus a load of 20 grand in cash doing this Spot the Ball. Wow. Yeah.
Unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, you just I'm assuming what you have to do is you just have to put a mark where you think the ball is that right?
Well, I'll tell you what, Paul, not a lot gets past you, does it? I
did listen to him, I promise, when he was telling me.
Yeah, spot the ball. There's the ball.
But what I like about going to visit engineers like Ben is he opened his doors to us. I know the MTD network has a brilliant relationship with him, and there's 2 points I'd make on that I think the MTD network has secured him some of his best contracts, hasn't it?
He was absolutely raving about. Yes, one just kept him going through furlough, pretty much.
Yeah, and I mean the company. We won't mention the company that placed the work with him that he won, but I look at the nature of that business, and I think they're obviously using the MTD network to find engineers. Yep. But the company that was outsourcing him the work was nowhere near where he's located geographically.
Miles away.
So you know, it was brilliant. Story. It was brilliant to see.
They love it. The parts he makes so much as well. We can't say what they are and things like that, but they're time critical. At one point, that they had delivery drivers come down and collect it, but he had to go and drop one of the parts off at Heathrow Airport. It's not an aerospace part, but he had to drop it off at Heathrow Airport because they were flying out that day. He's got the flex,
and I think what it is with Ben is he's a young guy, 38 years of age, ambitious. He's got 2 Haas machines in there now. Just bought a turning centre. The MTD network has provided him with a great platform to not only win work, but he's also used your MTD network finance facility where that's helped him get finance for his machines. So he's kind of embraced the MTD network on a collective, and it's a good point to mention it at this point if engineers are listening.
I'm going to just step in there because on that finance, because it was a new company, no bank will lend. Well, very few will lend to a brand new company. No trading account. I mean, he's a time serve engineer. He knows his stuff. And how much? Well, if I said to you, Gio, I'm starting a new company, I'm going to buy a machine. Let's say 100 grand. How much deposit do you think I'd need?
About 40 grand.
10 grand he needed. Well, 10% deposit for any machine tool. To get 10% deposit is pretty much unheard of. For a brand new company is just... I'm getting excited here because that's got my finance head on it. It's just amazing what the guys did for him there. But his Haas machines, loves them, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. And I think for me. There was 2 points to yesterday's visit. We wanted to see, and he's a great user of Heimbach's systems as well. We did some pieces on for Heimbach there too.
How long did it take you to change the Heimbach?
Well, he's got a Heimbach Mini, and he was changing the collets in less than. I was telling him about when my days on the shop floor when it used to take. You used to have to get in there, and it was minutes, and they'd fall. but this is a matter of seconds. He was in with his gun, bang, out. Absolutely loves the hindbook chuck. Although, albeit the machines weren't cutting in anger yesterday because he was so pleased to see us. But for me, there was two things.
Excited, I think, is the word.
I think I was very, very. It was great to hear his what he was saying about the MTD network and how that had really got hold of his company and helped him. So it's a message to all engineers out there, regardless of whether you're looking for, you've got the recruitment section on there as well, Colin. You've got the MTD network finance that can support people, and you've got the ability to win new customers. So, and he's used it all. And had seen
a huge audience we've got. So we, we've obviously got the website, LinkedIn, emails, and things like that. But we're hitting thousands of people every day, every week.
I can remember the last visit I did Review Network. We went to Gloucestershire, wasn't it, that day? Quite a while ago now. I think pre-COVID. But every visit that we went to, they'd been using the network and won work off it. Absolutely. Can you remember?
Yes.
Well, it was
Ferocity had won a
that was a
massive
contract,
great
wasn't it? Yeah. So
and our friend Richard Demchinsky, don't ask me to spell it. Richard Demchinsky, it's pronounced.
Okay. Yeah.
He loves
Can you spell it?
He's got some. Sorry.
Can you spell it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Richard. There you go. So great.
You can shorten that one as well,
Richo.
Also on Thursday, Lindsay was at Desk Tech. Now, this is a company we've been really looking forward to getting in here because they purchased a Courier machine, and this machine is it's got a UAD head on it. It's one of their it's a real flagship model, and the Courier machines that we have seen in many installations are known for their precision in machining. They're known for their build quality. They're known for their footprint around the world as being the provider for milling solutions with, the ability to do multi-face machining on bigger applications.
Is that, you say the UAD head, don't want to get too technical, but is that the one that's like a knuckle?
Their UAD head is a patented design. I believe it's the UAD one that's the patented design, where you've got like two Hearth couplings. And these Hearth couplings move, and again, it's good that the videos they move in association with each other in order to get to, and I've got it written down here, you can get to 364 million positions. Wow. Now, this gives you the ability, the real clever part about Courier's technology or their head technology is one of the difficulties that machinists face when they're doing larger, heavier tool work, whatever it might be, is they'll set their head at an angle and they'll try and machine, let's say, a bore, or they'll do a drilling operation or whatever it might be. And then they'll come away and they'll move the head to a different position. Then if they try and go back to that same position, what will invariably happen is, how they describe it, is you'll almost recut the part. So it's very, very hard to achieve exact positioning a second time round, just because it's a mechanical item, Whereas the Courier machine, the accuracy of the head, the clamping force, you've got, it's a 33 kilowatt spindle, but you've got something like 20 tons of clamping force when it's in position. And what it means is you will not recut that part with the Courier. So it's extremely accurate. And that's the biggest, or one of the biggest features about the Courier. Now, this company was looking at machining ring grooves, and they needed around 10 microns in accuracy. And on bigger parts and on bigger machines, this is unbelievably hard to achieve. It's hard to achieve, but the Courier has done it. So that's brilliant. It's another success story, really, about for Courier. And for DTS here in the UK, they really have done so well with the Courier machines. Having visited Manufacts not so long ago, they'll buy nothing when it comes to milling other than Courier machines, just because of their reliability, their accuracy, and how long repeatability and how long they last. So that pretty much sums up all of our activities for this week. A couple of points I want to mention. I've got to talk about an event that's happening, Gio, at the MTI. On the 16th of June. Could you maybe just tell people what they can look forward to seeing coming on our channel?
Yeah, so I think we Zeiss reached out to us,
and it's the Myra Technical Institute.
It's the MTI Manufacturing Technology Institute, where they do all the car testing, and they've got 35 OEM companies based there. They do all the R&D on new cars that are coming out, autonomous cars.
All the cars that are all in camouflage.
That's exactly the place. That's where they all come from. I think it's the largest facility in Europe for car testing. Zeiss reached out to us and said, look, we'd like to do something in collaboration with you guys, to give something back to students. To kind of try and educate them and inspire them to be engineers, and to also raise their awareness of what kind of careers are available in engineering. And obviously we said yes. Since that initial meeting, things have progressed quite nicely. We've got a leading Formula One team that have joined the party now that want to be involved with this. I assume we can. I would have thought so.
I would probably say let's not for this
for now. But a leading Formula One team that wants to be involved, they're going to be part of the presentation that we're giving on the 16th. And one of our core values at MTD is obviously education and giving something back. So an event that we're really all excited about. We're going to be taking parts from a Formula One car through the journey of how they're made and how they're inspected on the Zeiss equipment, and also kind of highlighting the synergy between manufacturing and inspection. You know, still in this day and age, in a lot of companies, they're looked at as two separate things, when really it should be looked at as one. And one perfect example of that, in the day when I was on the shop floor, you'd have an inspector and you'd have a machinist, but the communication between the two wasn't great.
Didn't like each other.
Maybe. Keith Deverell, in my day it was. He was the inspector. Lazy git he was.
Is it?
Yeah, he used to wonder.
He might be listening.
They always used to have the white schmocks. We always had the brown ones, and the inspectors had the white ones. It's true, wasn't it? It's incredible. But I mean, now poor old Keith Deverell's job would be redundant, wouldn't it? Because
I think it's changed so much, hasn't it? I think that they were talking. We actually had a meeting with them this morning, didn't we, over Zoom?
Okay.
With the Formula One team and Zeiss, but we were talking how much things have. I mean, I was born, you know, a long time ago, and things have evolved so significantly. But back in the day, how we used to check things when we were apprentices, and how it's changed now, it's just phenomenal.
Is that when you were on the lathe and you still had your tie on and things like that?
He was the best dressed engineer you'll ever come across. Yeah. One of the things we will be doing at this event, and I think this is what's really exciting to me, is that we're gonna make it quite personable. There's gonna be a lot of camaraderie. We're going to be talking about our experiences on the shop floor.
Keith's not involved then, is he?
No. We're going to be talking about how we used to inspect and where we came from and our journeys, because it's important for us to show the youngsters of today that actually, you know, engineering is fun. There's lots to be enjoyed within this industry.
You're learning all the time. Every machine shop we go. I mean, obviously, if you're going to work in a machine shop, you understand that one. But every machine shop we go to, different stories. You learn something new every single time. And that's not just saying it for the show. You learn something.
Never stop learning.
Yeah. Even if it's just take your tie off when you're doing turns.
Yeah. Did you get it caught? Ever get it caught in the chuck, Gio? Can I imagine that?
I took it in. I took it in.
It's such a great experience.
It's one of these blokes with a tie that tucks it in his.
I had a dicky bow actually.
I bet you did. Yeah.
I got a game of snooker after.
Couple other points I just want to mention before we finish. Of course, I can't forget to mention the MTD magazine, which hit desks last week. A very, very popular read. One of the things actually that the guys at ProSpeed as well mentioned to us is they love getting a copy of the MTD magazine, where we got a lot of stories in there about companies we visited, what's happening in the industry. So that's good. And then I have to say a big well done to our colleagues Stuart and Joe, as we had Kwasi Kwarteng on the MFG Great British Manufacturing.
For those who don't know,
podcast
who is Stuart and Joe? No, who is Kwasi Kwarteng?
So he's the Secretary of State for Business and Industrial Strategy.
Wow.
And he's probably, if you look at him as a guy, I mean, he's very good actually. And I listened to that podcast yesterday, and I've got to say, I feel really confident about UK manufacturing at the moment. I think that some of the points that Kwasi raised, put across about some of the companies and businesses that are investing in the UK, Nissan and people like this, there's lots and lots to be positive about. And the MTD MFG channel is doing a fantastic job getting these messages across. Now, often, I'd say most of the time, first to market with breaking news.
Always, you hear on the news, are they going to close this manufacturing plant down? And, it's not a regular occurrence, but maybe you see that once a week, twice a week. But there's so many good news stories every single day. There's big investment, and this is a great platform to share it. And I'm never cease to be amazed how many good news stories there are.
Well, the MTD MFG platform as a website gets more traffic to it collectively than any of our other channels now. That's just how broad manufacturing is and how big this channel is. So if you want to be part of the Factory Now platform as well, which is part of the MFG platform, it's a great place to showcase what your manufacturing company does. And it is the home for the big guests. Watch out, because Boris will be next, we're told.
Really?
We hope.
With Dylan, the dog?
Maybe, and his new baby. A couple of other things. We hear that emo is still on, which is good news in October.
Not for Gio.
Not for Gio. Gio doesn't like flying, but it is in Milan. We're already ambitiously planning that week. Tony Gunn from the States will be joining us, our MTD man overseas. He's going great guns at the moment as well, so you can keep in touch with what Tony's up to in the States. I've been watching some of his stuff this week. Some terrific videos on software at Karen Engineering, and it's great to look at what he's producing in comparison to us and how many similarities there are to what people are trying to achieve, but also how many differences there are to the machines that he's looking at. Some of these machines I'm looking at and going, do you know what? I've never even heard of that machine. I mean, there's a lot of common machines like Nakamura's, Fanucs, and all the rest of it, but there's also machines I'm looking at and going, do you know what? I've never seen or heard of it. So it's a brilliant watch. You can see Tony's.
He's an absolute legend, isn't it? I mean, the bloke. He's just travelling from state to state to state, and when I say states, Arizona to Houston, or whatever the states are, not a catatonic state or anything like that. But
catatonic state.
Yeah, I know. But he's just He's gets a plane, filming all week. He hasn't been home for about 6 weeks, I don't think.
He doesn't. He's away for 6 weeks. He goes home for a week, and then his wife kicks him out again, and he goes away for another 6 weeks. But fair play to him, doing an absolutely brilliant job. You can follow his activities on mtdcnc.global at the moment. All channels will be merging in due course as well. So MTDCNC will just be a huge platform where you'll be able to select which continent you want to see footage from. So watch this space for that. Podcasts are going really well. I know we've done some recent ones with Grob and DMG Mori, haven't we? Plenty more to come.
Yeah, definitely.
We did one with PSL Day Track. No, again, it's software, but we had a great conversation about that. It was just me and Jeff. I put him under some pressure, some real bad gags from my part as well, so I do apologise now. But that's great. That's one coming up soon.
Yeah, and if you do want to get some jokes, then Colin's not your man. I'd probably talk to Ian Carver, who's our cameraman.
He told the best joke.
He did, but unfortunately, Gio,
two
things. We're running out of time for one, and secondly, it's not something we could put across our channels. But I'm sure if you're listening and you see Ian in the near future, he'll give you the lowdown on that joke. Gents, thanks for joining us. As I said, there will be no On The Road next Friday. Join me again in 2 weeks' time. I'm off next week. Looking forward to enjoying some sunshine. We are looking, as it stands, this is hot off the press for a sponsor for this show. So contact us at MTD or inquiries at mtdcnc.com if you're interested in participating in what we do here. Gentlemen, have a good weekend. Thanks for joining us, and see you in a couple of weeks' time.
Thanks for listening to the MTD podcast. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. Find more episodes on mtdcnc.com.